justice and peace and equality. Now the world they will see. That's why
We're going to hit on a big part of it with the infrastructure and kind of at the economy at large. One of my focuses is just making life better for people. And where I hear that people are struggling the most right now is making ends meet. And we've got wages that are not keeping up with inflation, while we've got costs for healthcare and housing that are absolutely out of control.
Correct.
And so my number one goal is to make sure that people can actually afford to live here. And the infrastructure is a big part of it, but also just making sure that we are funding healthcare and education and making sure that people are set up to where they can pursue well-paid jobs. And so that's a big part of it. But another really top priority of mine is passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Okay.
I have been a poll worker since 2020. I started because I heard during the pandemic that there was a big risk that precincts wouldn't have enough staff because a lot of poll workers are older, and of course they were concerned for their health and decided, that they didn't want to be working with the public.
Right.
So I just decided to step up where I felt like I was needed and make sure that people have access to our most important right, which is the right to vote. And we see disenfranchisement constantly. A perfect example is the lawsuit we just had in Georgia to redistrict to make sure that we weren't breaking up Black communities, that they had representation. And this is happening constantly.
Right.
And
right.
one of the reasons for that is that we took some pieces of the Voting Rights Act out that made states prove that their maps were fair and representative.
Wow.
And this is something that really gets me, that happens on both sides. We have states that are led by Republicans that gerrymander in their favor, and we also have states that are led by Democrats that heavily gerrymander in their favor.
Right.
So something that's very important to me is pursuing nonpartisan redistricting, because I just believe that we should have fair representation, and people should get to choose their representatives. Representatives should not get to choose their voters.
Right.
And there's a lot that goes into that, but a big part of it is just that we need to make sure that everyone has access to the ballot and that everyone's vote is going to count equally.
You're correct on that. And we want to go back to the John Lewis bill that we talked about. And we want to go, because you hit a lot of points with that.
Yeah.
You hit a lot of points with that. And you talked about the older poll workers not wanting to work or not wanting to work the polls because they didn't want to be out in public due to health. And right now we just saw, based on statistics, that younger people are not interested in voting Democrat. They're really not feeling the Democratic platform, and much less young people are not even voting at all. What do we need to do to mobilize the vote for 2024? Getting young people involved, helping them feel value, helping them feel that something's going to benefit them, because they were made all these promises over the past 4 years that if we got Trump out of office, this would change. And like you said, I mean, it's almost like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah. So it's hard. I think young people have a really valid point that they have not been given the opportunities they were promised.
Right.
And I actually was talking to a Young Dems group recently, and one of the things that I realized is that kind of Gen Z and millennials were a little bit different places in life, but we are facing the same issues. So I'm still paying student loans. I can't afford to buy a house because I can't afford a down payment.
Right.
And, my job hasn't had a big raise since inflation. So everything that they're feeling starting off in their careers, a lot of us are feeling now as 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. And so I think we need to first acknowledge that what they're concerned about is so real.
Right.
And that representatives have not done enough to make sure that they are set up to live good lives. And to me, that includes, that we actually talk to them about what they care about, and also that we are fighting climate change. That's something that's really important to young people, because how do you care about the future and have hope that things can get better when you see that a lot of representatives just aren't taking science seriously? So
Correct.
it's hard to have hope.
Got the world